Good evening, everyone.
Good, Taraf, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you. So it looks like we're doing bet. So it says here, האוכל דבר איסור במקום סכנה, כתב רבינו רוחם בשם הרמב"ם, שאינו מברך עליו. Okay, yeah. So interesting, wow. So if you eat something which is forbidden, and it's in a place of danger, so Rabbeinu Yerucham says in the name of the Ramah that we don't bless on that. But the model Rambam, it seems to me says that the Rambam will admit that he will bless on this kind of thing. So I'm going to write about this in different chapter 204.
Kavod Taraf, I think your volume went down.
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, let me check that. Check the. Mm. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we'll continue. So anyway, as we said, that Bet Yosef comes here and argues with this and says that we should bless on that. And this is I'm going to write later on, chapter 204. So let's see Shulchan Aruch on that. So it says Shulchan Aruch, "Im achal davar isur sakana." If he ate something forbidden, right, in a place of danger, mevarchina, we do bless on it, right? So, okay, so that's the story, right? That we do bless, and the reason is that it's permitted, to do it. Since it's permitted, there's no prohibition, so therefore you do have to bless. And when we said yesterday that we don't bless, that's talking about something which is forbidden. This is the reason why we don't bless over there. So yeah, that's the story. And in my video tonight that I made, I also pointed out another thing, which is that if a person eats on Yom Kippur, he has to bless there also. If he's ill and he has to eat, he's ill because of illness, so he does bless also there as well. Because there also it's permitted for him to do that. And says Shulchan Aruch, not only that, he has to say Yaleh V'Avo, like a holiday. He has to do a holiday insert. Because Yom Kippur is a holiday after all. That's it, right? Okay, great. So, I mean, Yom Kippur, it says in the Talmud that it's a happy day. It's not really a sad day, like Tisha B'Av or something. Okay, so we'll move on. Go to Gimel. It says here, כתב הרשב"ם, שלושה שאכלו כאחד, אחד נזהר מפת של גויים ואחד אינו נזהר. This is an interesting one. I also spoke about this in my class tonight at the shul. So let's see the whole tour inside here. Interesting piece of Torah here. So so it says the tour like this. Katav Rashbam. Rashbam says Gimel she'achlu ke'echad אחד נזהר מפת הקום ואחד נזהר או אחד מהם כהן ואוכל חלב ואף על פי שאותו שנזהר אינו אוכל יכול לאכול עם אותו שאינו נזהר. Okay, so talking about three people got together to eat, and the problem is they have different halachic standards, these people. So what does that mean? One of them eats goyish bread, the other one does not. He's stringent about it. So the question is, right, how do you handle this when they get together like that? And then he brings another case where there's also three people, but one of them is a kohen. So what does that mean? He eats challah, right? Kohen eats challah. The challah goes to the kohen. So even though these two, right, cannot really eat the same bread, right? They have different standards, as we said. ולא ישראל עם הכהן, and also Israel cannot eat with the Kohen, כיוון שאותו שאינו נזהר יכול לאכול עם הנזהר, but he says, since the one who's not careful, right, not particular, can eat with the one who's particular, the Kohen in Israel מצטרפים, and also Kohen can eat with Israel, so therefore they do combine anyway. So what does that mean? That they can still do zimun, even though they have different halachic standards. Interesting point. So let's see Bit Yosef on that. Says Bit Yosef calls it Katvat Tosfot. It's in Tosfot. He says, but Rabbeinu Yonah also on the Rosh, Rashba, Mordechai, Beresh Pek Shlosha Shechel. Right, all these rabbis wrote about this. But Tama Miditna Beresh Arachin. So he says, what's their reasoning? Comes from the Talmud, right? In Arachin, Dal Amud Aleph, Hakol Chayvim Bezimun Kohanim Levim Lishanim. So it says over there that all are obligated in Zimun, whether you're Kohen or Levi or Israel. So we say regarding this in the Gemara, Bishita, it's Pashut. In other words, what you would think that they can't do that? They can't mix Zimun together? After all, they're all Jews, לא צריך את הכהנים אכלי תרומה. So it says now we're talking about a case where the Kohanim are eating truma, kodashim, and they're eating holy foods. V'zar achil chulin, but the other guy, right, the Israel, is eating only chulin, right, mundane foods. Ma'od tema, because you may have thought to say, kivan dazar la achil teruma, since the Israel cannot eat truma, the kodoshim, and also holy foods, lo mistaref, so you should not combine. Kamash Malan comes to teach you, keman the kohen matze achil, since the kohen is able to eat chulin, the mundane food, together with the Israel, shapir dame is okay. למדו משם לעניין אחד נזהר מפת של גויים. So they'll learn from there also regarding the issue of this, right? That one eats goyish bread, the other one doesn't eat goyish bread. Same idea. ונראה שגם כן יש ללמוד משם, so it seems that we also can learn from there, שאם היה אחד מהם מודר הנאה, that if one of them was forbidden to have benefit, מן השניים, from the other two guys, שמצטרפים, they also combine. Interesting, wow. Then had to have אינו ראוי לאכול עמהם, so it says granted that he can't really eat with them, right? Because he can't eat their food. הם ראויים לאכול עמו, but they can eat with him. Oh. לכן כתבו התוספות, רשב"א. That's what these rabbis also said. So in other words, since they have some way to eat together, right, in some scenario, that works. Okay, good. So let's move on. והטעם שאם כולם מודרים הניה זה מזה, אינם מצטרפים. So he says, פשוט שהוא, משום דלק אחד מנהג דמצא אכיל בין אחד לבין חברי. But he says, on the other hand, if all three of them have, right, are forbidden to eat one with the other, because, each one has a vow, not to eat with the other one, so then it's going to be impossible. They won't combine because, none of them can eat with each other. So, it's a blessing in vain, as they say. Effort in vain. Okay, so that's that. And then he says, מצא אכיל מדחברי דהה, אדם תמד מצטרפין, הוא משום דכהנא מצאו אכלי חולין. One second, I'm sorry. Because he says there, in the other case, the reason why they combined, because the Kohanim can eat chulin, mundane foods. But if it wasn't so, that these two cannot eat truma and kodashim and the holy foods. And these cannot eat chulin, mundane foods. Lo matzafet, they would not combine. Vehu adin nameh. Also, same thing applies in kohanim v'zar achonim keachad. Same thing if kohen and Israel are eating together. V'kohanim ochlim chala, and the kohanim are eating chala. V'azar ochel pat, and the other guy, right, Israel, is eating bread, shel goyim, goyish bread. The Kohanim nizharim bipat. So it says the Kohanim are careful not to eat pat shel goyim, right, to eat goyish bread. She'ena mitzarfin, so they don't combine. Chen katva got mamani. That's what it says also in this rabbi. They are Mordechai and this rabbi. But Talmud de lo mehane ma shecholim leisha'al. And it says, why doesn't it? Why do we say that doesn't help you? They could al nidra. They could nidram. They could nullify their vows. Go to the rabbis. And bet them, and they'll nullify the vow. Nireli mishum de'im ken ki kohanim achle truma. So it seems to me, he says that if so, when the Kohanim eat truma, amay mihadar atamed the Kohanim matziach lechulin. Why does he have to go right and bring the reason that the Kohanim can eat mundane food? Tzipoklet dazar nami matziach truma. You should learn it from the fact that Israel can also eat truma. Emichal Allah. If they would nullify the vow. Alma dechevan de bechusar she'ela lo haver raoi lachila. So you see from there, right, that the one who hasn't yet nullified, right, is not really fit to eat. V'yukach elav de kahanim matzu achle chulin. If it wasn't for the fact that Kohanim are able to eat chulin mundane, lo hava mitzvah, he would not combine. So what do you see from there? You see from there that hypotheticals don't help over here. It has to be like, like you have to actually be able to eat that, like now, not hypothetically if something happens. Blah blah blah. Okay, great. So let's move on. So says Bet Yosef furthermore, Ve'agur katav sheyesh omrim. This rabbi says, right, that some say shafilu im he's here mipat shel goyim, even if he was careful, right, about goy shabed, hayat kohen azahir, right? He was kohen, this guy. Ve'haya ochel chalot, and he was eating chalot, or trumot, v'shenu nizhar, and the one who's not careful, haya ochel pat shel goyim, he eats goy shabed. So they cannot eat one with the other. Afilu achi mistarfin, they do combine anyway, says lezimun. Why? For zimun. Lefi she'im izdamen lahem beseudat tan pat chulin, because if they do get some, like regular bread, Jewish bread, right, mundane, shneim yicholim lechol yachad, so they could both eat that. So he says it comes from this rabbi. So he says, this is not nonsense. Oh, why nonsense? So he says because it contradicts the Gemara that we just mentioned in Arachin. Uh-huh.
Which rabbi says nonsense? He said he was nonsense.
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna just go over this, right? And we'll go through the whole thing.
Thank you,
So it says over here like this, right? That first of all, we learned in Arachin, right? This Gemara that he's talking about here. Everybody has to do zimun, right? Kohen, Levi, Israel. So Gemara says, well, that's obvious, what would you think? They couldn't eat together. They couldn't make zimun together. So he said, no, we're talking about a case where, they're eating different types of foods, right? And one is not fit to eat with the other two. So this is the Gemara that we're talking about. Now comes over here the Bet Yosef in the end and brings this as a source to refute this assertion that we just had here. So let's see, right? Who made this assertion? This was the Agur. So what is he saying? That if the one, right, who's not eating goy shabbat is a kohen, and he's eating chalot or truma, this kohen, and the one who's not careful, he eats goyish bread. So one cannot eat with the other. He says, nevertheless, he says they would combine for zimun. Why? Because if they would find Jewish bread, which is mundane, they could eat that together, right? Hypothetically, right? So comes Bet Yosef and says, no, it says this is nonsense. Why? Because the Gemara that we just did, right, proves that this is not correct. So let's understand, right? Why is that? Because the Gemara is saying that the reason why they combine, Kohen, Levi, and Israel, is because it's possible, for them to eat something together, that they're holding right now. Right? But this rabbi is coming to tell you, well, if they would bring something else, they could eat that, right? But the Gemara is not saying that. The Gemara is saying they can eat something that they have now. That's why he says it's nonsense. Go figure. Okay. All right. Very good. So we'll see Shulchan Aruch and we'll see how it goes, right? The bottom line. So it says Shulchan Aruch like this. שלושה שאכלו כאחד. Three people ate together. אחד נזהר מפת עובד כוכבים, as we said, right? One guy eats goyish bread, the other one does not, right? Or alternatively, one is a Kohen and is eating chalot, right? Chala, and the other one is a Israel who cannot eat chala, right? So below Israel Kohen. So problem is, right, as we said, that they cannot really, eat the other stuff. But the thing is that guy, right, who's particular, can eat what who's not particular can eat with the one who's particular. That way it can work. So therefore they do combine, right? And same thing with the Kohen, right? The Israel can't eat the food of the Kohen, but the Kohen can eat the food of the Israel, right? So therefore they do combine. Okay, great. So what else we got here? אבל אם היו כהנים בזר אוכלים באחד. But on the other hand, if you had a Kohen, right, and Israel that are eating together, the Kohanim אוכלים challah, the Kohanim are eating challah, and also, right, they don't eat goyish bread. והזר אוכל פת של עבוד כוכבים. But the Israel, right, eats goyish bread. So here, אינם מצטרפים, they cannot combine here, right? So why is that? Because this one can't eat this one, and this one cannot eat the other one, right? So in other words, they're pretty much barred from each other, in every direction. So therefore, they don't combine. והוא הדין לשלושה מודרים זה מזה, שאינם מצטרפים לזימון. Same thing also would apply if three people, right, they all made vows not to benefit from the other two, whatever, right? So this way, nobody can eat the bread of the other. So they're not combining like that. Okay, great. So says the Rama here, "V'dafka keshakol echad ochel mikikaro." So that's when does that apply? Each one is eating his own loaf. Aval im ochelim mikikar bala bait. But if they're all eating from the loaf of the host, right? Mistarfim. So then they do combine, of course, right? The ha ochelim kikar because after all, they're eating from one loaf. So that would obviously be no problem. Okay, great. That's about it. So let's go to the next one. Now, this is an important one to know. So let's see what Yosef here. Let's see the tour first. Ad kama mezamnin, ad kazait. So says the two, right? How much do you have to eat to do zimun? So minimum is kazait. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad kabetza. Rabbi Yehuda says, right, egg size. Mekayim kazait katana kama. Behold, like the first opinion, right? Who says kazait. So yeah, kazait is like the universal thing, when it comes to these things. Same thing here as well. Because when you eat a kazait, it's like it's something significant there, you know. By the way, why is kazait significant? What's the reason for that? So the answer,
It's the minimum you need to eat to call it a meal, right?
right? But why? Why is that?
It satiates, no? One kazai?
Yeah, kazait doesn't really satiate. You know what it is? But you're close.
No.
You know what it is? It holds you over.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like you can like chill out a little bit. You won't be so hungry. That's why it's like a significant amount. That's what it is. So okay, great. So that's the whole thing, right? So let's see Bet Yosef. Says Bet Yosef, he brings a source for this, right? Mishnah בפרק 3 right? It's a Mishnah there, מ"ה עמוד א', מה שכתב וכן לעניין יחיד אינו מברך 3 ברכות אלא על דת כזית. So it's also, he says, for individual as well, right? In other words, how much do you have to eat to say Birkat Hamazon? So minimal is kazait. If you had a kazait, you have to say Birkat Hamazon. Same thing over there as well. So why is that? Even though you're not satiated, right, as we said, but the thing is, that they took this on as a stringency, the Jews, to say Birkat Hamazon even with a kazait, even though you're not satiated really, right? But it's something significant, so they took it on as a stringency to bless Birkat Hamazon there. So okay, great. So what else we got here? We already explained this in chapter 184. Yeah, we did. We talked about that. Okay. So that's that. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. So let's see the Shulchan Aruch. So it says Shulchan Aruch, "En mezamim elav mishechad pachal kazayit." We cannot make zimun if they ate less than a kazayit. Right? So everybody has to have a kazayit. Okay, great. That's it. So we'll go to the next chapter, Kuf Tzadik Zayin. Okay. This is also an important one. So let's check it out. Well, it says here the Torah. So what happened, right? Two people ate together, And then a third guy came, right, passed by to join them. So he says, כל זמן שלא אמרו הבלן בנבריך מסתרף עמהם. If they didn't say Havlan, in other words, they didn't start saying the Zimun yet, the invitation to the Zimun, he can combine with them. Right? So what does that mean? He'll eat something, right? Kazite of something, and he'll combine with them to do Zimun together. Even though he wasn't there when they started, right? But he did come at the end. That's also good. But then he says, but if they already said Havlan, right, which means that they're already starting Zimun, he doesn't combine with them anymore. Too late. So that's the cutoff, that's the red line there. After that, he doesn't combine. Okay, that's the tour. So let's go to Bet Yosef.
Did you say two people and then a third one came to join them?
Right, yes.
Okay. And then if they recited Zimun, you said? The two people and then the third one arrived?
Right, they're going to do Zimun because he's going to have something. He's going to eat a kazite, and they're going to do Zimun together.
Okay. And what did you say at the end then? That's what you said at the end?
You have to listen to the recording. I don't remember what I said. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Listen to the class, and then you'll tell me what I said. I don't know what I said, but I think that was about it. I'm not really sure. Okay. So anyway, right, something like that. Okay, so that's the story there. Let's go to Bet Yosef. It says here, it brings a source for this, right? Perek Shlosha She'achlu, right? This perek in Brachot again, right? Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. Rav Shmuel Havu Yatve Beseudata. So what happened? Rav and Shmuel were having a seudah together, right? Ata Rav Shimi Bar Chaya came this rabbi. Havaka Mesarhev Ve'achil. Klomar Memaher Le'echol. So what does he do, right? He right away, digs into the food, starts to eat a little bit something there. Why is that? He wants to zimun together with them. So he dug into something there, right? Had a little bite, and that's it. Now they're ready to go. Amalei Rav, my datech. So Rav tells him like this, he says, what's your intention here? What, you want to combine with us? Is that what it is? Anan, Achrina, Lan. Oh. So I think what Rob wanted to tell him is that, hey, buddy, we already ate. It's too late. You came late. We're done already. So okay, and then what happens? Amar Shmuel, ilu maite li ardilia guzlia le'aba mi lo achlinan. Oh, so Shmuel answers Rav. He says, "What if they would bring a little bit like some dessert for us now? What, wouldn't we eat it? In other words, we're still in the meal. Don't worry about it. We're good. We haven't finished yet, really. Even though we're not eating, but if they would bring something to us, some ice cream, whatever, some goodies, some candies, we'd go for it. Dessert. So that's it. There you go." So he tells them. Okay. Right. So, the funny thing is, right, that Rav, in the Talmud, they call him Rav. But that was like his official name, But Shmuel didn't call him Rav because they were buddies, you know what I mean? So what did he call him? He called him Abba. Why did he call him Abba? Because that was his first name. You know, uh, they say, Rob's real name was Abba Arichta. So, that's why I called him Abba. Okay, good. So anyway, right, tells him, yeah, Abba, that's the way it is, come on. Milo Achrinan, the Katav Arif. So the Rif writes regarding this Gemara, Alma kol hechad de'emaitu leomidi matzele mechal mine mistaref pe'adayu. So I said, you learn from here, it says that if they would still bring something, and they would eat it, some condiments, yeah, they would go for that. So then they do combine. Okay, great. So, that's halachai says, right? The Rif. The Chen Pasak Rambam also says that. Right? Tosfot Katu. What about Tosfot? Mashma dekin halacha derabdimi lo palig. So he says implies that that's the halacha. Why? Because Rab Nami lo palig. Rab didn't really argue with him. In other words, Rab didn't bother to answer Shmuel. To retort. He didn't retort. So that means he bought it. Right? That's it. He bought that. Okay. La parig. Aval im amru havlan v'nivrich. But says the Tosfot, right? If they say already said havlan v'nivrich, right? In other words, they already started the zimun, right? She'asichut datam melechol. So that means that they already stopped eating. They already declared we're not eating anymore. And shlishim tzarafim. So then, right, this third guy would not combine with them. And that's exactly what we saw on the tour, right? Same thing. Okay, so that's what it says in the Rosh Rashba, right? All these rabbis. Katuba Chuvat Rashba says in Chuvat Rashba, Perk Kol Basar, right over there in Chulin, Kufa Aleph. Rabbi Ameh Rabbi Aseh Havu Yatve Ata. Oh, so he brings a story here, right, from the Gemara there. That Rabbi Ameh and Rabbi Aseh were sitting together, right? So in other words, they were having a meal apparently. Right? Ata Rabbi Yirmiyah Gabayu. So this rabbi comes, right, to join them. Uh, oh. So you know what happened, right? They didn't give him anything to eat, right? They said, that's it, right? No food for you. Amar midla yavu li shma mina en v'zamin leperot. Look what he says, right? So this rabbi concludes from here, Rabbi Yirmiyah says, you see, the fact that they didn't give me any food to eat, that means you can't combine, just by having some fruits. Because otherwise they would have given me, little fruits to eat, and I could combine with them. Mikam Pasak Ram, so the Ram learns from there, right? B'shnayim shachlu, that if two are eating, ubay echad chayvim nitendo k'desh yizamnu imo. So they have to give them enough, right, to do zimun with them. So in other words, so he learns from there. You have to give him. Interesting. Okay, so let's see Shulchan Aruch. So it says over here, Shnaim she'achlu ke'echad ve'gamru, right? Two people ate together, and they finished the meal. Uba shlishi, and then third one comes. Kol hechad de'emay telehu mideh matzu lemechal mineh mistaref padayu. So the rule is, right, as we said, if they can give him something to eat, take a bite of something, he will combine with them. By the way, it doesn't say bread, right? It could be any food. Even, some fruit, or whatever it may be, right? Doesn't have to be bed. וחייבים ליתן לו לאכול כדי להצטרף עימן בהוא שבא עד שלא אמרו הבל המבריך. It says that only, right, so look what he says, wow. So he says they're obligated to do this, you know? In other words, they have to give it to him. So why is that? Because we want to make a zimun, you know, it's like we're striving for that. So therefore, you know, you should do it. Don't just say, well, I don't feel like it. What do you don't feel like it? You got to do it. Give him a bite to eat, for God's sakes. So he can do zimun with you. Okay, great. So, אבל אם אמרו הבן בריך, but he says, if they already said this Havlan ben Ivrich, ואחר כך בא השלישי, and then the third guy comes, and no mistakes, it doesn't combine there, right? As we said. עמהם. So says the Rama, ונטילת ידיים האחרונים, כהן כהבלן ben Ivrich דמה. So he says, also if they do מים אחרונים, right? Same thing, right? They're not going to combine anymore. Because once you do מים אחרונים, right, the meal for sure is finished, right? No doubt about it. As we discussed, right, in the earlier chapters, right? So where was that? In 179. Okay. Okay, great, fantastic. So that's Aleph. So we still have time. We can do a little bit more, maybe. So let's see what we got. So says the tour like this. Amrav Yuda Bar Shilat, right? Says this rabbi, Mishmed Rav, name Rab, Tish'a Shachlu Dagan ve'echad Yelek. What happens if 9 people, right, ate, Dagan, right, which means grains, and 1 person ate vegetables? Do they combine for Zimun? So let's see in the tour how he finishes this. So he says, Mistarfin, they do combine, yes. Le'askir Hashem, to mention the name of God. So what does that mean? It's considered like you have 10 people. Okay. So it says, Le'askir Hashem, v'afilu lo tibel imahem. It says, even if he didn't dip with them, you know? Ela betzir. I'm sorry, yeah. So I didn't say it right. He just like, he dipped into some brine. Or lo shatay damim lakos. Or he had like something to drink. That also does it, you know? You drink something. That also does the trick. Right? Echad mistaref imahem. So that 1 cup is going to combine with them. Afilu zayin dagan v'gimel yerek. Even if you have 7 people who hate grains, and 3 people ate vegetables, right? Mistarfin, they do combine. Aval vav lo, but it says no, 6 not. 6 is not enough. Why? But 6 is majority, right? So what's the problem? So it says the ruba the min bainan, but we require like a recognizable majority, which is 7. So what does that mean, recognizable? What it means is that it's readily noticeable. You know, you have a majority at like a quick glance. You don't have to like focus in too much. That's what it means. Okay, good. Fantastic. So let's go to Yosef. says with Yosef, right? He brings the source for the Sham, right? Mem Chet Amud Aleph. It's over there in the Gemara. In Brachot, בכתוב תוספות, says תוספות there, שאף על פי שלא אכל אלא שתה. So, yeah, as we said, right, that he says, that even if he didn't eat, just he drank something, right? יכול לומר שאכלנו משלו. He can still say, right, we ate his. Even though he didn't eat, he drank. The שתייה בכלל אכילה. Why? Because drinking is considered to be like eating, same thing. It's true. Where is that in Shavuot, Kaf Bet Amud Bet, right? That concept we brought down there. Okay, great. So let's move on. ונראה שזה שאמרו אם שתה כוס אחד, so it says that it seems like that which they said that if he drank one cup, right, Mr. If he combines with them, haynu me'ezeh mashke sheyeh, right? Doesn't matter what drink it is, he says, except water. Mishum de la zayne. Why? Because the water doesn't really nourish you. It's not nourishing. It has no calories. Right, so apparently you need something which nourishes there. כתב רמב"ם פרקי דף אגב דאוכל ירק מצטרף. So it says the Rambam, right, even though that somebody who eats vegetables does combine with them, צריך שיהיה מברך אחד מאוכלי הפת. But it says, you know what? The one who blesses the Birkat Hamazon, the one who recites the Zimun, he has to be one who ate bread. He shouldn't be one of those who ate vegetables. That doesn't do the job. Okay, good. Okay, let's see if we can knock this one off. If we're lucky, we'll do it. If not, we'll finish it tomorrow. So, anyway, it says, well, shisha lo, but if it's 6, as we said, right? No. Sham, right? Shisha badai lo midbaya li. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah shapir avdat velo ibaya lach. So he says, right? 6, I don't need to ask because 6 is not good. So he says, yeah, you're right. You said right. Hatam tama mishum deikaruba. But he says, you know what? They're both majority. But he holds that you need a recognizable majority, right? Discernible majority, whatever. So it says, Rashi explains that Ihu Sabar, that he holds Rabbi Zera, in other words, Shaya Kobel Umitcharet ala Shelo Shal ala Shisha. He was right, he regretted and complained that he didn't ask about 6. Sabar Dima Ruba the Minkar Shapir Bainan. Maybe we require, he held that maybe we require like a noticeable majority. The Lechol Degan, they should eat grains. And if he would have asked about 6, he wouldn't allow that. He wouldn't allow 6. Okay. So they all paskin, he says the poskim that we do require a discernible majority, which is 7, as we said. So it says if it's like Rashi, if it was like Rashi, then Rabbi Yirmiyah thinks that, right, he holds that Rabbi Chia mesapik aleh, and since Rabbi Yirmiyah was sure and Rabbi Zera, right, had a doubt, lahaval lehu mishpak peshituta de Rabbi Yirmiyah, so then they shouldn't have, right, abandoned the opinion of Rabbi Yirmiyah mishum speka de Rabbi Zera, because of the doubt of Rabbi Zera. So he says, therefore it seems to me shehem mefarshim that they explain like this: the Chia minan vehu sabar ruba the minkar bainan. And that what she said, right? He holds that they need a recognizable majority. Lo betot safek amarken. He didn't say this as doubt. The Perish Rashi, that's like Rashi explained. Ela kushta de milta. Right? Just he was telling you the facts. The Achi Svira, that's the way he holds. And Mishum Achi says, because of this, lo ibaya le. He didn't even ask this question. Matzati le agur shkatav b'shem Orzarua. So I found this rabbi who wrote, name of this rabbi, Shisha ochalin be'arba mistarfin be'yerek. So it says you have 6 people eating, and 4 can combine it with the vegetables. So there is an opinion like that says 6 and 4 is also good, even though the prevailing opinion seems to be that 7 and 3. ונראה שהוא מפרש כפירוש רש"י, says it seems like he's going like Rashi. הוא פוסק כפשוטותי דרבי ירמיה, and he passes like the simple meaning of Rabbi Yirmiyah. ולעניין ההלכה, he says, what's ההלכה? What's bottom line, right? פשיטא דלא חיישינן לדברי אור זרוע. Says we're not really concerned about אור זרוע. דיחידה הוא, so it's because it's a right, a minority opinion there, right? A single opinion, whatever. Okay, great. כתב מרדכי, says מרדכי, שאם שותה להצטרף, צריך שישתה הרביעית. So it says if you're drinking something to combine with a zimun, you have to drink רביעית, right? We already said רביעית many times. We said it's 3 ounces, right? According to the halacha. ואם אוכל מצטרף, צריך שאוכל כזית. But if he's eating to combine, he has to eat a kazait, as we just said a few minutes ago. He's got to eat a kazait. כתב הקולבו, says קולבו, eat the amre דליין זימון שלושה. So there are some who say that when it comes to zimun to do 3 people, who the bainan kazait, we require kazait. Kadat מצריכים לשלושה. According to one who says that they require 3 she'achlu pat, that they eat bread. She'achlu pat, should eat bread. But the zimun asara, but when it comes to zimun for 10 people, the sagi be'erek that you could do even combined even with vegetable, or b'shtia, or even with drinking. Lo ba'inan kazait, so we don't require kazait. It says, leotam shehem yiterim ala shib'ah, to the ones who are more than 7. In other words, up to 10. V'kanami lemimar, so it says, we can also say, da'atam nami de pat lo ba'inan, that here, there also, we don't really require bread, miu kazait yerek or eat yain manina, but we do require, right, on the other hand, kazait, a vegetable, or revi'it of wine, right? As we said, right, it cannot be water. That's why he mentions wine over here. Okay. Question is, what about soft drinks? Do they? Will that do the job? Okay, we got to think about that for a while, but we'll see what happens with that, with the soft drinks. For sure, if it's diet, it's not going to do the job, right? Because there's no calories in there. That's for sure.
Kvodaha, didn't you tell us that the soft drinks are water-based?
Oh, boy. Okay, well, yeah, looks like you remember pretty good, huh, my stuff, huh? You don't forget nothing. Okay. Okay, so the truth is, it's a very good question, and I have an answer for you, by the way. So the answer is like this, right? That when you mention this issue about soft drinks being water, we're not talking about this particular issue, because here the point is, right, does it have like caloric content, or does it have any nutritional value? Good word, right? Good term. That's what we're looking for over here. But in those cases, right, which is talking about a different issue, right? So over there, we're going to the majority. In other words, since the majority is water, right? So it's considered to be water for those purposes of those halachot. But this halakha has a different has a different theory behind it. That's the answer. Looks like I slipped out, huh? Oh boy.
Thank you,
You almost caught me there. Oh my God. Okay. Somehow I slipped out. Okay. Thank I must have prayed well today. Okay, so anyway, right, all right. So that's the Shulchan Aruch, we're done. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. So it says over here, Tisha she'achlu dagan, right? As we said, 9 people ate, right, grains. You notice, by the way, it doesn't say bread here. It says grains, right? So what does that mean? Apparently, it could be also mezonot. Okay, and one of them ate, right, just vegetables, right? The truth is, on the other hand, right, you could say it's not mezonot. Why? Because we don't make zimun on mezonot, right? So okay, we got to look into that a little bit. We'll discuss that. But anyway, right? Uh, so they do combine here, right, with the vegetable, right? To mention the name of God. ואפילו לא טיבל עמהם אלא בציר או לא שתה עמהם אלא כוס. As we said, right, just like ate a little vegetables there, dip it into brine, or he had like a cup of drink, right? אחד שיש בו רביעית, which has רביעית. בכל משקה, חוץ מהמים. Any drink besides water, he says, right? So that implies, by the way, that anything which has like caloric content will do the job here. So diet drinks, right? Forget about it. It's not going to do the job, right? I drink diet, so forget about that, right? If you come to my house, it won't work. Okay, so anyway, right. Right. But it says, right, that the one who's blessing has to be the one who ate the bread, right? So it seems like we're talking about bread, right? Not just mezonot. Okay. So even if 7 ate, right, bread, the gimel yerek, and 3 ate vegetables, so we have a discernible majority, right? Clear majority. Right? Aval shisha, lo, but 6 is not good enough, right? Druba the minkar bainan, right? Why is that? Because it has to be discernible majority, right? The 6 is just barely majority, Like, Trump used to say, right? It's too big to rig, it has to be too big to rig. So they can't cheat in the elections, So that's the same thing over here. Okay, so anyway, thanks for coming. Be blessed with wealth and health and happiness. Laila Tov, Chazak Baruch. We'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you so much.
God bless. God bless.